It had been a considerable amount of time since I had last gone back to the cherished countryside of France, where my grandfather still resides. The previous week, he had given me images of his flourishing garden with much pride. However, now, when we were talking on the phone, his voice was filled with anguish as he informed me that everything had been destroyed. My elderly and ailing grandfather was unable to do anything except watch helplessly as the wild boars came down and trampled the entire property. He was unable to do anything about it. It was impossible for me to allow this situation to continue, so I decided to call a few brothers who were familiar with the area and organize a hunt in order to settle this score. With my well-known rifle slung over my shoulder, I entered the woodland in complete silence, accompanied by a few brothers whom I trusted, while the rest of my brothers dispersed themselves to encircle the location as we had planned. As we made our way to the ambush location, the sound of dry leaves crunching under our boots reminded us that everyone was holding their breath and waiting for the appropriate moment. The hunting dogs appeared to have located the target after just approximately 15 minutes of tracking, and I could hear the joyous yells of my companions ringing out in the distance. Finally, the solitary boar makes its appearance. The moment I make the decision to pull the trigger, I do not hesitate. Although the boar falls to the ground, I maintain my caution and continue to fire a few more shots in order to ensure that it is fully eliminated. The presence of our herd of wild boars in the forest appeared to have reawakened a terror that had been dormant for a remarkably long time. Suddenly they were overcome with fear and rushed out onto the grassy field that was close, making a frantic attempt to flee at any cost. However, because we had planned ahead and had surrounded them, we were not going to allow them to escape without a fight. An angry farewell was conveyed to those crafty and terrible monsters by my companions, who fired their weapons in rapid succession through the series of gunshots. There was complete silence in the woods, and I waited patiently for the adversary to make his appearance. There was a spooky silence outside for 10 minutes, then 15 minutes, and everything remained the same. After that, all of a sudden, a shadowy figure started to emerge from behind the canopy of the trees. Because it moved quickly, I didn't waste any time and discharged my weapon right away. My gun was able to hit its target, but unfortunately, the wild boar was too quick and disappeared into the trees in the distance before it became visible. For the subsequent half an hour, the woodland was engulfed in silence, and it wasn't until the sound of wild boar footsteps eventually broke through the silence. One of our team members fired the shot that proved to be lethal, despite the fact that everyone was on high alert and prepared to shoot at any moment. The wild boar fell to the ground in an instant, landing on the bed of dry leaves that was located in the center of the ancient woodland. I, on the other hand, promptly hid behind the camouflage after relocating to a new location, and I waited calmly and quietly. When you pay close attention, you will hear a peculiar sound coming closer. Wild boars make up the herd in question. I didn't hesitate for a second before pressing the trigger with a light push. An avalanche of bullets came in succession, one after the other. Fortunately, 3 shots found their target during that barrage of gunfire, which resulted in the target being brought down immediately. Within a split second, the time of day when wild boars are most active is drawing near, and dusk was quickly approaching. As a result, we grabbed the opportunity with both hands. An unexpected charge from a wild boar came forward just as that notion was about to pass. I did not become frightened or stall in my actions. Rather, I swiftly raised my weapon and brought it down with a single rapid squeeze of the trigger. I was unable to catch the wild boar as it fell to the ground immediately after it fell. Harry was abruptly confronted by a wild pig that was charging toward him at the edge of the forest. On the verge of making a break for it, it appeared to be reluctant. On the other hand, Harry immediately pulled the trigger before it could do so. The gunfire caused it to sustain injuries, and after stumbling for a few feet, it eventually fell to the ground. Are you of the opinion that hunting wild boar is nothing more than a perilous adventure deep within the forest? Don't be too sure. The game is actually played at a professional level in Spain. The price of 1 kilogram of fresh wild boar meat can range anywhere from 12 to 20 euros, depending on the quality of the flesh and the time of year. It is therefore more than just a hobby or a means of safeguarding crops for hunters like us to engage in this activity. To make a living, it is. To present, we have arrived to a hunting estate that is licensed, located in Candeleta, which is a town located in the province of Avila. While we were on our way there, we had our first experience with a frightening creature. Unflinchingly, the wild boar charged straight at us without any hesitation. Upon becoming aware of the potential threat, I promptly pulled the trigger. Upon receiving a single shot, the animal immediately fell to the ground. As soon as we arrived at the mountain, we handed over the hunting dogs, and they immediately dispersed themselves and started searching for the prey. That is the case. In a moment of panic, a wild boar that was relatively huge raced out. Unfortunately for it, we were already able to see every step that it took forward. In a determined manner, Diego, one of our hunters, raised his weapon and fired one shot. Within a few moments, the boar was struck, stumbled, and eventually passed out. On the other hand, my companion and I hiked higher in order to provide assistance to Dante in flanking the boar while other members were stationed downhill. We were fortunate that the dog pack had already completed its mission. Following that, all that was left for us to do was properly aim and then pull the trigger. After reaching the previous location, I proceeded a few hundred meters more. Being by myself in this bleak landscape, I couldn't help but maintain a state of heightened awareness, particularly when the sound of dogs barking became more louder. While I was pulling the trigger on the gun, my heart was pounding, and my hands were gripping it hard. I fired several bullets in rapid succession within 10 seconds of reaching the target. In what a hurry! In a hurry, I sent out a radio message to the squad to inform them of the damage. There was a lot of tension at Diego's station as well. As the dog pursued the boar with unrelenting determination, he waited for the animal to suddenly expose itself. My goodness, it was a nail-biter. This was a moment that made my heart race. Thankfully, Diego was able to bring it down in the nick of time. If you are not accompanied by a group, or if you lack experience, you should never go hunting by yourself. It is possible that you could lose your life if you are even 1 second late out here. Once again, the dogs barked in a frantic manner as they followed a path that required them to ascend a few hundred more steps. There is no other possible explanation. Wild boars are the only animals that wander this rough woodland area. While gently raising my gun, I kept my ears perked and my eyes fixed on each and every shrub. On the move. As soon as I saw the boar emerge, I fired several fast rounds at it. The air was filled with the smoke of the gun, but more significantly, the boar had been killed. It's possible that this is the luckiest search I've ever tried to go on. It had already been signaled that it was time to reorganize, but at this point, I was unable to leave. It appeared as though the dogs had located one more of the unfortunate boars. You are! As a result of all the searching, I was able to take it down in a matter of seconds. The sound of a gunshot. Despite the fact that hunting is a source of money for us, we always adhere to the regulations that preserve wildlife and the environment. The only time we hunt lawful animals is during the appropriate times of the year and seasons. All of a sudden, there was a gunshot. Every one of us villagers has been experiencing a great deal of exhaustion and worry over the past 2 weeks. Because the danger is only becoming greater, we have been required to take turns protecting the fields from the moment the sun rises until the late hours of the night. Wild boars are flooding into our area and wreaking havoc on our livestock. In light of this circumstance, we came to the conclusion that it would be best to establish a specialist hunting crew that would be assigned with the responsibility of patrolling, tracking, and directly dealing with the boars. The first place we went on our hunt today was to a large field that was covered in dense shrubs, which provided wild boars with the ideal way to conceal themselves. However, due to the fact that we made our appearance with a pack of agile hunting dogs, it was not completely safe for them. During the course of their constant circling, the dogs were able to detect the scent of a target within a matter of minutes. My companion and I made a hasty approach in the direction of the sound, prepared for anything, with firearms in hand. Suddenly, a wild boar emerged from the bushes and charged forward. There was no hesitation on my part. I shot right away. In spite of its attempts to flee, the vital shot was successful in bringing it down. It fell to the ground, unable to stand. We were able to determine the positions of the boar with greater precision by using tracking devices. There was a strong indication that they were moving in our way. Without a doubt, a herd of wild boars suddenly surged out of the forest. I did not wait for a moment before raising my gun, holding my breath, and rapidly aiming it at the leading boar. In the midst of a great shot, the boar suddenly lost its balance and fell to the ground. In a flash, everything took place, and the struggle was a quick one, but the outcome was significantly better than expected. As I was making my approach to Derek's location, I was taken aback by the sudden barking of the dogs, which could be described as being louder and more fierce than usual. indicating that they had identified their target. In order to approach closer, I had to navigate between the dense rows of corn. My heart was beating faster and faster as the volume of the barking increased. Nevertheless, the instinct of a hunter raced through my bloodstream, propelling me forward. That was the case. As soon as the boar made its appearance, I decided to pull the trigger. It was brought down by a shot that was both precise and decisive, directly in the middle of the tall corn stalks. After observing that the dogs had surged ahead, full of vigor, in pursuit of the boars, we swiftly followed in their footsteps. "They have arrived!" I yelled out, my heart thumping in my chest as I did so. Within a matter of moments, Derek had successfully brought down a number of wild boars by firing a number of fast rounds. His ability to respond quickly in circumstances such as this is something that I look up to and admire. Following a tense pursuit, we halted for a little respite before carrying on with our journey. Nevertheless, the dogs' barking could be heard once more in the distance after only a few dozen meters had passed. Instantaneously, I raised my weapon. When it comes to hunting, the most crucial guideline has always been to use extreme caution. I simply needed to aim and pull the trigger in order to get the boar to charge out. How incredibly brilliant! We were victorious over our adversary. My partner was also obstructing the way of a wild boar, which was located to the right of where I was standing. In spite of the fact that the dense underbrush made it difficult to see, we were resolute in our pursuit to locate and eradicate it at any cost. It only needed to make a momentary lapse in concentration. We hurried forward after receiving a report from local locals that there was a herd of wild boars in the fields. Observing it from a distance, I realized that I couldn't allow it to get away, so I stepped in to stop it. As soon as it came into contact with the icy and potent muzzle of my firearm, the boar dropped on the ground in the middle of a huge field. On the other hand, this was just one of the dozens of boars that showed up in the fields. Without a doubt, we will continue our search for the animal. We are aware that the path that lies ahead will be fraught with difficulties and obstacles. Pure suspense, tension, and adrenaline are all present. Indescribable feelings like this are what come along with the experience of hunting wild boar. On the other hand, this trip isn't only about the excitement. It's a more important mission than that. For the purpose of preserving crops, re-establishing ecological equilibrium, and minimizing the harm that these destructive creatures generate. Also, it was the first day of yet another wild boar hunt, exactly like every other day. Without wasting any time, as soon as we arrived at a mountain trail in our reliable vehicle, we let our hunting dogs out. They were free to scout wherever they pleased. It was only about 10 minutes later when they immediately began barking in a frenetic manner, which was a positive sign that a boar had been seen. I raced in with my rifle elevated and ready to go. That was the case. A perfect opening shot put an end to the pursuit in an instant. I moved swiftly and adjusted my aim, and then boom, the chase was over. On the spot where it had been standing, the boar fell. In all honesty, hunting dogs make a significant impact. Because of them, we did not have to exhaust ourselves by searching the huge region and looking for things. They took us directly to the target of our hunt. I can't believe my eyes, see that? It was not just one wild boar that charged straight at us, it was two of them. Despite the fact that my heart was racing, I managed to keep my breathing steady and fire 2 rapid rounds. The 2 boars were brought down in a cloud of dust in a time span of less than 5 seconds. An experience that is both intense and exhilarating. Finally, our devoted dogs came through for us once more. We were able to locate a boar that was attempting to escape after hearing them barking in the distance. On the other hand, this one did not flee in terror. It charged full force in our direction with intensity. Thank goodness, Roy was prepared. Only one hard shot was required to bring the belligerent boar to its knees and bring it to the ground. It was one of our teammates who brought us a phone call. Nearby, on a path that was relatively small, a boar had been seen. We took a hasty step forward, and just in the nick of time we caught a glimpse of it. We did not hesitate to line up the shot, and we were successful in doing so. A further achievement. Our voyage of hunting wild boar has brought us yet another trophy. The pursuit was getting the fever up. From where we were standing, we were able to see a large number of wild boars situated below us. That was our time to shine. I was able to identify a boar that had separated from the herd and swiftly take my shot, but I was unable to hit it. Just a moment. Not once did we give up. As soon as we encountered it, we immediately pursued it downward, pressing forward until we discovered the ideal position. The shot was successful this time. The boar fell to the ground and ended up rolling down the slope. The operation was successful. This area has a vast terrain that was covered in lush vegetation, a situation that is not optimal for identifying these cunning and evasive critters. They had the ability to conceal themselves and moved with a startling degree of agility. Having spent close to an hour looking for them, we were finally successful in locating them on a neighboring ridge. It was impossible for us to let this wonderful opportunity pass us by. We quickly climbed to a higher elevation and then took aim and fired. Immediately, one of the boars was knocked down by a clean hit, while the others fled in complete terror.